Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Align podcast, where we talk all things health, wealth, and relationships. I'm Anna Goff, and I'm here with Molly Rubish. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so excited to be here. And we have such a wonderful topic that many of our clients come to us and they talk to us about this in between marriage. And today's topic is really a three-part series that's going to help you get clarity on where you are in your marriage and potentially what your options are and where to go from here. So today we're going to talk about the three doors. If you're in this in between marriage where maybe you've been married for 20 years or you've been together since you've been in high school and you look around at your partner and you think, gosh, I don't even know them anymore. We're roommates, we pass each other in the hall, we barely even interact. We talk about logistics of the kids. We surely don't want to be intimate, or at least I don't. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like too good to leave, but too bad to stay. And oh my gosh, it has hit people right, bullseye on this is
Yeah.
me and this is our life. Do you see a lot of your clients facing that too?
Yeah. Yeah. So many. And I think people often wait for a big blow up to address it. Right. So I love this topic because I think there are small things that people can do to adjust or, understanding that it doesn't have to be like this, that you can make choices to move forward. But I think for a lot of us, we kind of get stuck in the minutia of like you said, the day to day, the kids, all of
Right.
that. And we stop thinking about sex. We think we don't want it anymore. We think that that's just part of it. We stop wanting to date and then we start kind of shifting, wanting our free time to go to maybe our friends or our hobbies or our kids, which I see a lot. I think that's a lot of the reason why people get divorced after the kids go to college or leave the house. And that's because they don't have anything else to focus on and they haven't focused on their marriage for so long. And they look up and they're like, wait, I don't like you. I don't want to be with you. I don't know
Mhm.
who I am. But what I hear a lot from women in particular who are in our age group, so in their 40s, they start to feel this pressure of what am I going to do with the next half of my life? Their
Yeah.
kids are a little more independent. And this topic becomes very apparent to them that they're living in this in between. And they start to think, is this all there is? Is this going to be what the rest of my life looks like?
Yeah. And because we take care of our bodies, our listeners in our community, we're gonna live a long time. So it's kind of like, whoa, if I live another 50 years, is this how I want my life to look? And
Yeah.
so, there's this, if you're faced in this, and this sounds like you really have three doors, you have three options. And the first one is stay. Stay exactly how you are. Stay in the marriage the way that it is. Stay feeling a little bit trapped, but it's safe, it's predictable. That kind of the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. You're busy, you're just going to bury your head in the sand and just stay. That's door number one. Door number two is do the hard work. Like, actually change the marriage because you're like, I love this person and I know that there's something there, but we have grown apart so much. And that's like doing the deep dive, going all in on therapy and healing not only yourself individually, but himself, and then you
That's
guys as
good.
a couple. And then the third option is actually leave. And you leave the marriage and you file for divorce and you change your entire life. So, over the next three episodes, we're going to talk about the three doors. And this particular episode is just door number one. So, if you'd like to learn more about the other two, follow along for the other two episodes and listen to really decide and get some discernment on which door feels the most aligned for you. But the purpose of this episode is door one. So what does it look like if we just stay, even though we're not totally happy, but we just stay in this marriage?
Mhm. I think one of the biggest things is radical acceptance. You have to accept that the things that he has been doing for the last decade or 20 years or however long you've been together, those things will continue. If he leaves his socks out and he comes home and drinks 3 beers every night and passes out on the couch, you have to be okay with that. You can't expect him to change. So I think in this particular door, change has to come from you in the meaning in the things that you want, right? So if you don't turn to him for your fulfillment, right? You stay as they are. You continue, with doing the routine, with taking care of the kids, maybe by yourself, with not having sex. And maybe you decide you're going to fill your time with being with your girlfriends or Bible study or exercise or pour into your kids, and that's going to be enough for you. And so I think, well, door number one is everything stays the same. You don't necessarily have to do that, but if you're going to stay in the marriage, you kind of have to just expect that nothing's going to change from him and you're going to be fine with that. What do you think about that?
I mean, I totally agree. It's kind of just saying, all right, this is the choice that I made. This is the life that I have said yes to. I don't want to divide. I don't want to go to therapy because I don't really want to repair. There are some women that are in that situation. They don't want to leave, but they don't want to fix it because they don't want to have the tough conversations. They don't want to fall back in love. They don't want to be intimate. They truly just want to coexist. And the pain is really in standing out of in the cold, trying to decide which door to go in on this constant loop, and then maybe telling your friends, maybe keeping a secret. The pain is not having shelter in any one of the doors. So if you
Right.
decide to just walk through door number 1, I'm here. I'm fully committed. And that's for now. You can
Right.
decide this for any period of time. You can say for
Mhm.
now, for 6 months, 6 years, 60 years, I'm in door number 1. And so
Yep.
I think that gives a lot of comfort to people knowing that it doesn't have to be forever, but you can say, I'm just not ready for one of the other two. And so I'm going to stay here in door number 1, and I'm going to accept that I am still an individual. I love what you said. It's like radical acceptance of this is where I am. I'm choosing to be here. And I'm also going to choose to not be miserable every single day by the choice that I made. I'm just going to say, all right, this is it. And I'm going to pour into the kids and the home, but really myself.
Yep.
So I can have a big, beautiful life also within the constraints of this structure.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have been messaging me, like when they hear this, they say, well, I can't afford to go. Like, what do you do? I can't leave. Maybe they're stay at home moms, or maybe they have a tight financial budget. So I know you're so well versed in this area. What do you tell people to help them prepare for not only loving door number 1, but also in the event that they want to go through a divorce?
Yeah, and I think staying in door number 1 versus door number 2, if you really want to be in door number 3, is a safer place, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is door number 1 can be a really great preparation time. So maybe what it looks like after a divorce is you'll have to go back to work. Like you said, maybe financially you can't afford to support yourself, or it will be a huge hit to you. So in door number 1, you can go back to school. You can get a certification. You can plan and prepare for
Yeah.
what door number 3 may bring. So use door number 1 to radically accept the situation you're in and start to explore what it is that you want. Who do you want to be maybe after you get a divorce? How can you support your family? Start diving into the finances and find out what your financial picture actually looks like. You can't do that if you're already at door number 3 because things start to get closed up. Your partner is going to protect things, potentially move things around. So, this door number 1 is an opportunity for you to be an investigator too, to find out what does your financial picture look like? What would it look like if it was divided in half? Could I live on that? What would I need to do? What skills do I need? And you start to, reach out to somebody like me or somebody like you to help build a plan, because the worst thing that you can do is just decide, boom, I'm in door number. Unless there's some catastrophic something that happens, you
Mhm.
need to be prepared and need to know you've likely been in door number 1 for a really long time. Don't rush it. Step back, take time, be prepared, make sure that you know exactly what things are going to look like and what you're stepping into, because there are so many things that are unknown once you do get to that door number 3 that are going to come at you. done the work ahead of time, it's going to make an incredibly difficult situation easier.
Yeah, and so when you say, like, do the work, I think that sometimes people want it more on a even granular level. What could somebody do today to start moving in the right direction? What should they consume? What should they start
Mhm.
identifying? Like, what are some, like, actual tangible steps?
Yeah, so I'm a big reader. I love personal development books. I love reading about growth. And so I think that's a really big part because you have to get your mind right. If you're going to be stepping into the next chapter alone or going through the fight of a divorce, you have to be ready and you have to be mentally prepared. So I would say make some time to read every day. The other thing is maybe you've been out of the workforce for several years. Maybe you were a nurse, maybe you let that lapse. And for me, I was an esthetician. So
Mhm.
maybe I'll use myself as an example. Maybe I decide that I want to start networking a little bit, or I want to start doing maybe one wedding a weekend, a month. And I start kind of growing something that's mine, right? I get out in the community, I get on LinkedIn, I brush up my resume. And it doesn't mean that you have to jump into something right away, but it does mean you need to start preparing and thinking, what does it mean? Before I went through my divorce, I started getting my integrative health practitioner license. So that was going to be the route that I took. And I wasn't sure that I was going to go through with a divorce, but I wanted to be prepared to have something that I could do that I was passionate about, that I could have the flexibility around. And I think that's a lot of what people who are stay at home moms or people who are going back into the workforce after being home for a long time or part-time, they don't really consider how much childcare will be, how they're going to manage the logistics of being, the person at home, the single mom or the single dad. And so getting all of those logistics in your head, thinking about what would this look like and how can I build my skills to be able to have a career that will support that? Because a lot of people will rely on child support and alimony for a little while, but that can go away. His job could change. He could,
Mhm.
check out. He could stop paying. Who knows, right? You need to be prepared for yourself and be ready when you move into those other doors or into particularly that third door.
What leadership books or financial books or podcasts should people start with? Like, what is a baby book that you would recommend for somebody that's
Gosh,
really starting to
as I'm looking
think?
at my list, and this is kind of an old one and it has gotten a little bit controversial, especially in like a Christian community, but I loved Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. That was one of the first ones that I read that I felt empowered and like, I can do whatever I want. And if she could build this
Mhm.
business and not have the tools and just learn everything, I could do that too. And, John Maxwell's a great leadership writer. You've got people like Ed Milet that you can plug into his podcasts. A lot of people get a lot of benefit from Mel Robbins. You can get on, I mean, there are a million podcasts that you can get on or listen to. And I would just start to feed your mind with those positive things, with
Yeah.
affirmations, with growth mindset. And that may also lead you to either door number 2 or door number 3 if you start really growing. And I think a lot of women do this because they start to think like, okay, if I change, then maybe the marriage will change. And so I'm going to focus on me and just grow and work out and do all these things. And maybe if I do this, then he'll come along with me and then we'll fall in love and it'll be great. And that often doesn't happen, and then she just outgrows things, and then it gives her enough power to move to door number 3, and then she moves on with her life. What do you usually
Yeah.
see or what?
I see the same thing. I love Brené Brown and I have
Mhm.
listened to and well, let's be real. I listen to books. I don't read them, but I listen to them and consume
Yeah.
them. And they have been very empowering for me, especially early in my healing journey. And then, like the Glennon Doyle Untamed, it's
Mhm.
just like allowing us to say, whoa, I didn't even look at things from a different perspective. I always followed this traditional path, and the wake up call becomes, whose dream am I living? You
Mhm.
know, you and I both grew up in the Midwest, and so we followed all the traditional paths. We went to our schools, and we went to church on Sunday, and then we went to college, and then right after college our friends were getting married, and
Mhm.
then we too fell in love and got married because that f- fear of, what if I grew up and I was 30 and I hadn't been married and didn't have kids yet, I would be behind. And so we
Mhm.
have just followed all of these traditional paths. And so then you get into door number 1 and you just still believe that this is it. I think even as a society, and sometimes in movies and sitcoms, they portray marriage to be like not high conflict, but just kind of apathetic,
Mhm.
and the woman is trying to do the hold down the fort, and the man's at work, and so we almost gaslight ourselves to believe that, like, "Oh, marriage is just hard. It's just
Mhm.
hard. My marriage isn't so bad. At least he doesn't beat me. At
Right.
least, he's coming home
Gambling,
at night or
drunk.
gambling."
Yeah.
So they feel very trapped, and women feel extremely trapped in this. I have followed all of the paths. I had checked all the boxes. I did every single thing right, and I am numb in my marriage,
Mhm.
and I don't really want to be in it. We've kind of talked about things and we try to repair, but neither one of us really want to take the brave step. And then
Mhm.
we go right back into, I'll just stay. So it's a
Mhm.
constant loop. So again, door number 1 can be an extremely beautiful chapter of, I'm just here for now and I'm going to get my certifications. I'm going to read these books. I'm going to listen to podcasts. I know you and I both have a shared client that she has been discussing, or when she first started talking with me, she was considering divorce but wasn't ready for it.
Mhm.
And she has a strong religious background. She really is a devout Catholic and very much values her vows and takes them with complete integrity.
Mhm.
It's very true to her and her
Right.
kids in the community and in the schools, and they're active in the community. So she really worked on herself. She listened to books, she
Mhm.
consumed a ton, she got support systems, she started being able to, like, break out of the infrastructures and seeing her marriage for what it was, and then she went back to the workforce. She got a
Mhm.
job, she went back and started working, and lo and behold to her, she was actually really successful at it, and, of course, you and I
Mhm.
could have predicted that and told her that she would have been done well and thrived. And so she started getting her own bank account. She got a new car. She started like getting
Mhm.
some independence. I have health insurance. And meanwhile, getting her ducks in a row, trying to figure out where they are together financially, what kind of investments they have, where they are as a family, and like looking at her life. If I stay or if I go, if I stay or if I go. And it wasn't a rushed thing.
Mhm.
And then as she pivoted and she kind of outgrew my support, she has moved on to your support to get like
Mhm.
even bigger financial clarity to help
Right.
take this now across the finish line. But this has been years in the making. So no
Mhm.
woman decides to jump through door number 3 overnight unless there is
Right.
like some major conflict or
Mhm.
abuse situation. We
Mhm.
stay in door number 1 for a really long time. So I honor any of our listeners that are in that situation, and to know that you're not alone and it's okay. Anna and I both were in door number 1 for a
Yeah.
long time before
Like a
we made the
decade.
step. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. But I think the other thing is, I think understanding that no matter what door you're in, it's okay. And not everyone's going to understand and not everyone's going to agree with it. I had a friend, or I have a friend who was recently divorced, and he said to me, I feel like marriage should be like a car lease where you just like decide at 10 years, do we want to re up this lease or not? And you and I have talked a lot
Mhm.
about the 10-year marriage podcast and some other things like that. And I do think the idea of that should be something that couples consider. And I'm not saying like if at 10 years we're not happy, we get divorced, but I think the option to say, I'm not happy and I need to be done, that can be really empowering for your marriage and makes you work harder to say, okay, she may not want me after 10 years. Like, let's, dive back in. So, that's kind of neither here nor there. But I do think that a lot of people, um, in decentering their partner, they find a lot of peace and happiness in themselves. And maybe they don't need to leave, maybe they do want to wait until their kids are out of school because they don't want to deal with the logistics of, co-parenting and all of that. And that is a legitimate concern. And it is something that is hard to manage and sometimes nearly impossible to manage.
Yeah.
So I would encourage people who are in door number one to put yourself back in the center of your priorities, to make yourself the focus. You say this all the time, like the best gift you can give your children is a healed and happy mother. And so I think in this door, you can be as close to that as possible by just decentering him. Don't make it about him, make it about you, and see how you feel and see if you want to move through the other doors.
Yeah, and let's just dive a little bit further into that too, because it's the moms listening are like, "What? My kids are the center of my world," and this
Mhm,
awakening, they bury themselves so much into their kids and their kids' activities and maybe the
mhm.
PTO and all things kids. And so then they don't know how to exist if they do get divorced on a
Mhm,
weekend without kids, and they don't know how
mhm,
to not be at every dentist appointment or every haircut.
mhm,
And it's kind of like, when can we surrender some of these things? Like,
mhm,
the gift of being a mother is the gift of raising humans and raising these souls. It's not
mhm,
so we can be at every single dental appointment. It's so
mhm,
be at the you can be pouring into them and raising them as humans, and that doesn't get canceled out by the number of nights they sleep in your home. That doesn't get
mhm,
canceled out by if they were at your house on Easter morning or not. And so
mhm.
the fear is around this control of wanting to hold on to and not miss a single moment. But the reality is, the gift of being a mother is so much grander than the
Yeah,
transactional tasks of being a mother.
right. Yeah. I mean, one of the best things about being divorced is I don't have to make lunches half of the time. I mean, that sounds terrible, but you
Mhm.
know, when it's not my week, it's not, so I think you're absolutely right. Like they also grow up and move away. And if you don't have a healthy relationship around what that looks like, that can also be devastating for you, for your marriage, if maybe you aren't having issues before. For a
Mhm.
lot of women who do pour 100% into their kids in kind of an unbalanced way where they're not focusing on themselves or their marriage at all, it can really end up being a devastating transition when their kids leave the home.
Yeah. And so we can work on some of that too. Making the decision to step into door one is saying, I'm going to put myself in the center, not in a selfish way, everybody, like it's going to be all right.
Right, 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 right.
I'm going to put myself in the center. I'm going to prioritize my well being, my mental health, my future, my financial well being, me as a mother, because I do agree with that. The very best gift that you can give your kids is the gift of a healthy and balanced mom. And whatever that cost is, you need to put all things into that bucket. Your
Hmm.
kids will thrive and succeed, and you will have longer lasting relationships with them if you are a healthy, balanced mother than if you are just the one that gets them 70% of the time, or you were in that house miserable and white knuckle gripping everything their whole childhood. So it's a time to do like an inventory. It's time to assess where you are from a financial perspective, build
Hmm.
yourself up, and really just commit to that chapter, because this is a beautiful chapter too. And you are so much more than just a woman who is married to a man that you feel stuck in. You are all of these other places and all of these other parts and all of these other, your soul is just thriving and waiting to like come out. And so you're more
Hmm.
than just a trapped and stuck woman. And so start living
Mhm.
like that, even
That's
if you're
right.
in door one.
Yep, that's right, and get prepared, and that will help you be able to move to door 2 or door 3. So,
Yeah. Well, I think that sums this one up. I invite you guys to listen to the next 2 episodes, door 2 and 3, and really decide where you are. And we hope that you find this to be beneficial and supportive. And we would love you to like and share it with somebody that is going through this. So thanks so much for being here.
thank you.